legend of Master Bard Savat. One of the most interesting characters the Western martial arts world has ever seen. Place Toronto. The year 2000 and something. My esteemed British colleague, Mr. Brooks. Some just call him Naked Bob.
Naked Bob.
Appears from the mist and says, MacDonald, you have to meet this man. He said, there's this master here you haven't met. I said, oh, aye? He said, aye. So, he said, I said, who's this man? He says, Master Bard Savat. Never heard of him. Let's go see him. Aye, no problem. So, he takes us over to see him. I says, well, what does he do? He says, he does all sorts you wouldn't believe. Celtic swordsmanship. Celtic swordsmanship. Here's a man I'm got to meet, you know. So we go over, Bob introduces us to this young laddie. Mr. Paul MacDonald, Master Bard Savat. It's alright, how you doing? He says, yes. I said, oh, okay. I said, so... I said, so, you're a master, yes? Oh, yes, I'm a master. Oh, good. I says, so what styles do you teach? What weapons do you know? He said, I teach all styles. Everything from early Celtic to just before fencing. Now this was interesting. Because we had no idea where in the history of all the world just before fencing was. In Edinburgh, that's about 5:30 on a Monday night. But he knew it, so we had to see it. It's a Celtic swordsmanship. He said, yes, Celtic swordsmanship. Yes. My master taught me. Yes, my master taught me. I said, oh, who was your master? My master was a Scottish man living in the hills of Germany, in the Highlands. Oh, a Scotsman, you say? Ah, yes, my master, yes. Oh, what was his name? I might know him. I cannot tell you his name. Oh, why not? He's dead now. Okay. Well, my respects for your master. Yes. So I said, well, Celtic swordsmanship. You know Celtic swordsmanship? Yes, my master taught me. I said, well, that's amazing. Because I have looked for Celtic swordsmanship in my own country for years and years, and I can't find much there, really. If you know Celtic swordsmanship, we'd love to see it. Can we see something? Can you, any rare gems of knowledge, wisdom that you might have, you can show us Celtic swordsmanship? We'd love to see it. Yes, I can show you something, yes. So great. So we go to get his weapons. So we're walking to get his weapons, and we're almost there, but on the way we pass Maestro Andrea Lupa Sinclair. So I grab out stuff. Oh, Maestro Sinclair, there's someone here you must meet. Master Bard Savat. Oh, yes. You are a master, yes? Oh, yes, I'm a master, yes. Oh, yes, good day. What weapons you teach? I am master of over 140 different weapon forms. Maestro Sinclair looked him in the eye and said, oh, he's curious, yes. We must see. He's just going to show us. We went to see. We got his weapons, and he laid his weapons along the wall. Of those weapons consisted of one Braveheart sword, Spanish mage, shiniest, one single-handed broadsword sort of thing. The type of thing you'd find up in the Royal Mile of Scotland for 20 quid. One muckle axe. I'm talking muckle axe. This thing was at least half an inch thick. Steel blade, I kid you not. And a wee dagger. We thought, this could be interesting. We were not disappointed. So he takes his stage, he takes a space. What would you like to see? Oh, we've got a choice. Celtic swordsmanship would be amazing. If you know Celtic swordsmanship and your master taught you, please, it would honour us to honour your master by showing us. Ah, yes. And so out of all those weapons, the Braveheart sword, the single-hand sword, the axe and the dagger, you might expect him to maybe at least pick up a single-handed sword. I know. He picks up the Braveheart sword. And he grabbed this big beastie. And he stood in front of us. And he went, leaping and burling and twirling in all directions at once, a flash of steel and hair and teeth and grunts and groans. Well, we thought, wow. We were honest. I said, he knackered himself out, he came to rest, I said, well, I've never seen anything like that in my life. And we all agreed, oh yeah, that's special. And so, he looked at us and we looked at him. Thought, where can we go from here? I said, well, that was obviously battlefield technique, yes. Oh yes, the Celtic battlefield technique, the early traditions of Celtic swordsmanship. Oh wow. You must know dueling, one-on-one swordsmanship techniques with the Celtic sword, yes? Yes, my master taught me. Well, we're in for a treat here. So he says to himself, if you can show us Celtic dueling swordsmanship, it'd be amazing. So, didn't want to disappoint. Yes, I show you, my master taught me. He stood in front, and he took that big muckle beastie, and he stood like this. Kid you not, he didn't move. He stood like this, and we're all kind of looking at each other going, what's he doing? Oh, what? It's Celtic, So he stands there, and I have to say something. I say, is this a guard? He says, yes. Because the Celtic tradition, being early Christian and pagan, the sword held in this manner represents the inverted cross. Oh, really? Yes, my master taught me. From there he goes, not unlike what we'd seen before. He knackers himself out, he comes to a rest. By now things are getting interesting, because a small crowd had gathered. They'd heard and seen the confusion. They started to assemble, wondering, what the hell is going on here? Because they're looking at him, going, that's not right. They're looking at us going, but they're serious and interested. Not quite seeing what's going on. So there were faces of confusion all around. And so I thought, well, let's see how far we can push this one out. I said to Master Barsabat, in Scotland, obviously, it's one of the hilliest, highest terrain lands going, and there's an ancient footwork system that I've been trying to track for decades now, decades. Spent my life trying to get to the bottom of this legend, because Scotland being full of high terrain is the legend of the high terrain footwork system. Do you know the high terrain footwork system? And he looked at us and he said, "Yes, yes, my master taught me." That's a big We've got a biggie here. So I said, "Well, can you show us?" He said, "Oh, yes." Oh, this could go in any direction. And it did. Because he took that sword and he went, leaping, burling, twirling, swearing, all directions at once. Pretty much what we'd seen before, just a wee bit higher. It's just a high terrain footwork system before our very eyes. Now, because the gathered crowd had seen this, they were really left in a state of shock, disbelief. We couldn't know quite what was happening. We weren't quite sure ourselves, to be honest. It was at the stage now where we couldn't even look at each other. You know, we looked at each other, we were just going to lose it. We're still stringing this master along, you know. And we still want to see how far we can go with it. And so, we're trying not to look at each other, and all I hear is Maestro Sinclair say, it's curious, these techniques. Side sword. Do you know the Italian side sword? And he said, "Yes, my master taught me." Here we go. If we can see, yes, yes, I show you something. And so, at least thankfully, he went to put that Braveheart sword down. He put that Braveheart sword down. Now, out of that Braveheart sword, that single-hand sword, that axe, and that dagger, again, you might at least expect him to pick up that single-handed sword. I know. The axe. He picks up the axe to demonstrate side sword. Oh joy. And he stands in front of us with that axe and he takes a wild Conan guard. And Bob Brooks, Naked Bob, asks, "Side sword, is this side sword?" "Oh yes, yes. This is a typical Northern English side sword tradition." Now Bob, who's from north of England, from Northumberland, at this moment is thinking, this man's trying to teach me Northumbrian side sword with an axe. Oh yes. And from that guard he went, not unlike the Celtic swordsman. And again he knackers himself out. He comes to rest. Silence. Not a word could be spoken. No one could move. We didn't know where he's going next. Now at this time, the show was interrupted. He speaks to someone behind him and he announces that he has to leave. I only later found out that it was his mother coming to pick him up. Because we'd also found out earlier how old he was. As we were walking to get those weapons, he asked me how old I was. I can't remember what I was, 20 or 30 or 50 something, I don't know. And he said, yes, somehow I thought you were. Oh. He said, I am 17. Okay.
And the man?
I have mastered all these weapons in only 4 years. Okay. And so, little 17-year-old Master Bird Sabat had to go home. He packed up his toys. And then I said, you know, I'd love to get your name and your information so we can keep in touch, you know. By keep in touch, I meant find out who this nothing was online and avoid like the plague. So we walked to get a pen and paper. And we're going there, and Master Bar Savat says something along the lines of, well, something about the Masters. There was a gem that came out of this one.
I recall.
You started. You said, you know, us masters, we have to stick together.
Right?
In
Because
fact, that's the one, that's the one.
Important.
In fact, yeah, he actually just started to write. And he said, he literally put pen to paper, just started to write, and he looked at me and he said, I wonder why you want to know my name, who I am, my information. And I just looked at him square in the eye and I said, Master Bird Savat, every master is important. Every master is important. And he looked at me with his slightly weird eyes of his. And he went, yes, every master is important. I like that. Maybe I'll carve that somewhere into my body. At that time, I wanted to go home. I thought, you freak, this man is clearly not right in the head. So, he wrote his name down, you know. I give you my known name. Oh, you have more than one? Yes. Eric is my known name. Oh, all right, Eric. Master Bard Savat is my true name. Now, Master Bard Savat has never since been seen on the Western martial arts scene, and he's become a thing of legend. He's spoken of in hushed and revered tones these days worldwide. For which we are thankful. We have no idea where this guy came from. He said the Highlands of Canada.
That's almost 10 years ago.
The Highlands of Canada. And when he was questioned about his school, yes, I have a school. I run a school in the Highlands of Canada. And Bob asked him, oh, how many students do you have? He answered, none at the moment. And then other stories started to filter through later in the day, because as soon as he left, I said, right, that's it, I'm retiring, I'm out of here, I can't compete with a guy like this. I took off the plaster and the sword, I threw them down, anyone wants to buy the kit, go for it, you know, I'm out of here. And some folk actually thought this was serious. The other stories that filtered through was Terry Brown, Master Terry Brown in England, had a wee encounter with Master Bard Savat. In fact, Master Bard Savat approached Terry Brown directly.
I never heard that.
And he said, excuse me. Yes. He said, right. You are English. Yes. I am. He looked him in the eye and he said, when you go back to England, you tell them that they breed masters young in Canada. I kid you not. He also went to enter in for a fully armoured longsword tournament. Well, you need full armour for a start.
Yeah.
And he went to the registration desk, and Master Bard Savat said, I would like to enter this tournament. No problem, I said. Name, no problem. Can we see your armour? Oh, he got out his armour from his wee bag that he's up down the desk. And he pulled out from there one baldric with 3 leather scales. And stood proudly. And they kind of looked at him and, no, can we see your armour? I need no more armour than this. Oh, really? There was silence. How do we deal with this? No, you need full plate, you need full harness, you need, steel from head to toe. It's a full armour tournament, it's full contact, you really need the full armour, mate. At that, he looked at them and said, well then I have no need for your silly games, and wandered off. He met one of the guys from Chicago Swordplay Guild. Oh yeah, they had a wee exchange. They seemed to get on okay. I said, you want a fence? Well, yeah. And so wooden wasters, wooden longswords were chosen. They took to the field of honour. And the Chicago bloke took a guard. Oh. And Master Barsabat took that longsword in one hand. And he went. Hum, 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 hum. If you've ever seen Conan, that's there. Chicago dude goes, oh God. He takes the half sword.
Yeah, aye.
Master Barsabat launched a full-on high-terrain footwork charge. And ran screaming at this boy who just went, and the first attack that came out of Barsabat's arsenal of longsword techniques was to kick your man, to which the half-sword replied, to the ship. Not impressed by this low-handed technique, Master Bart's replied by firstly throwing down that Conan and saying, I did not become master by playing with wood, and disappeared. As far as we know, he may have disappeared back to those Highland hills of Germany where his Scottish master came from. He may have disappeared back to his lonely cell in the Canadian hills. But one day, he may reappear, and we all may have to again know and fear and respect and string along Master Barsabat.